Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Jubes and Co. I am Michelle Dewberry. Alongside me, I've got Kelvin MacKenzie and Joe Phillips. Lots of you have been getting in touch. We had that conversation last night, didn't we, about these council elections getting delayed. The Labour fella last night trying to convince all of us lot that it was all going to be put up to consultations. Not at all. 29 confirmed as being postponed today. If you're in those areas, I mean, the strength of feeling, people are absolutely livid. Lots of people as well saying, why do I have to pay my council tax, Michelle? Why is there taxation if there's no representation? Lots of people coming through thick and fast on that one. But speaking of politics and speaking of elections, it looks now that we're going to get another by-election, this time in Manchester. This is the guy, Andrew Gwynne. He was the fella that got turfed out of the Labour Party for sending all kinds of stuff on a WhatsApp group that I think was called Trigger Me Timbers or something like that. Anyway, people are now saying that this is Burnham's opportunity to get in there and oust Starmer. Kelvin?
I beg him to do it. This will be fantastic. And I urge the people, I think of Gorton and Denton, the constituency, to get their custard pies out and be prepared to humiliate him in the voting. Because we are now in a completely different world to the one that he left. We are now basically in a almost five-party battle for power. And say the Tories don't stand, even if they do, I think the Tories will all vote reform anyway. So that's one problem. The other problem is what happens to Labour. The Greens did well in the 24 election. Unbelievably, they got a huge number, like 15,000 or something. And
that was before Polanski.
That's before Polanski. So I can honestly see, I would guarantee, I'll send a couple £100 to charity if Burnham becomes the MP for Gorton and Denton. If I'm Burnham, I don't stand there.
No.
What I do is I wait until May.
Absolutely.
And he will already have a deal with somebody in the area. And say, I'll make you Lord Cholmondeley of somewhere, and then I'll have a go, because the humiliation for Labour in that election will be so enormous.
No, I completely agree with you. I think Andy Burnham would be mad. Apart from anything else, there are many hurdles to get through. Because he's an elected mayor, the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party has got to agree.
And they quite like Starmer.
And they've got to agree to Andy Burnham resigning as Labour Mayor of Manchester, where he's done a really good job, actually, and continues to do a really good job. So that's your first hurdle. Then he's got to be selected, also by the NEC, as the candidate. Reform would throw everything in the kitchen sink at it. The Tories might decide not to bother. The Greens have now got Polanski on the move.
But don't you think Polanski is an even bigger danger to Burnham? You don't have much power. You live in, not one of the great areas of the world, and suddenly you're being told to embellish and help somebody else's ambition. I have got to give my vote up. I know the British people. I know the English people. They are not giving their vote to a Burnham who suddenly decides, actually, I've done my fill at Manchester. I'm going to do it.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
I don't think he is the prince over the water that is going to save
Correct.
Labour, because actually it's not so much Keir Starmer, who I think he's an appalling communicator, but I think he's done quite well on the international stage.
How many do you think are in your club on that?
I don't know, Kelvin, but they won't be watching GB News, that's for sure.
How do you know? We have a mixed audience, thank you.
Exactly.
Not very, Michelle. They
We do.
They prefer Kelvin to me. But my point would be, there is no guarantee that Andy Burnham or anybody else coming in would change the fortunes. It is up to the government, and the things that need changing are a chancellor, perhaps, get rid of Rachel Reeves, change the makeup of Downing Street and focus on the things that need to be done, and don't keep making daft mistakes.
So supposing, let's work on the cheerful, in my view.
Oh, yeah, somebody told me
which is
off.
that Burnham stands.
Yeah,
right?
and wins.
Burnham loses, right?
Disaster.
So he's no longer the mayor.
No, exactly.
And he's no longer an MP.
No.
And then he becomes Lord Chumley.
Yeah.
And so I can't. The humiliation
it would be
ahead
so
of him.
awful.
Fantastic.
No, it would be
look,
so
if we
dreadful.
can work this
Yeah,
out,
exactly.
Is he cleverer than us?
Well, I think he sort of shot his bolt too soon at the conference, and he sort of went away because he was making moves last autumn to sort of, to try and sort of say, I'm here, I'm ready. I think Keir Starmer's ratings actually have gone up slightly, and I think we've also seen a shift in that Kemi Badenoch's ratings have slightly improved. And I think that's quite significant, because Reform is, although they get an awful lot of coverage and they make an awful lot of noise, they are beginning to look like the offshoot.
No, but the only reason for that is that there is no concentration.
They're beginning to look like an offshoot of a golf club. There's an awful lot of blokes of a certain age, and some of them used to be Tory MPs. And that might not be so attractive now if you've got Kemi Badenoch, who's proved her mettle.
If Reform went back to their basics and simply focused on, I am going to stop those illegal migrants landing at Dover, I guarantee you they'll be back up at 30%. But what Nigel's trying to do is make himself more attractive to people. Well, and in doing so, I suspect that's why he's
Do you know what I thought was interesting that I saw today? The Green Party, there was a council by-election, basically. The council gained their first council seat from Reform. Yeah. And I thought this was really interesting in Derbyshire. So the Greens got 1,341 votes, and Reform got 1,091 votes. I just thought that was really interesting.
No, I think it is interesting. And, the Lib Dems, who don't get any cut through particularly nationally, but they are still picking up seats.
Oh, do you know, the Lib Dem, honestly, I feel quite insulted. When I see Ed Davey, I feel that they take the British people for absolute schmucks. All of these stunts, all of the ridiculousness.
He hasn't done any stunts since the election.
Oh, they're always out. Do you follow them on Twitter? They're always out doing stupid things on Twitter.
I tell you something, I think the Liberal Democrats are the only party that have mentioned social care. This government hasn't, and despite promises from previous Conservative governments, they haven't either.
Families should look after their people, not send the bill to the rest of us. So anyway, Ed Davey.
He's hitting there for his own kids to take him in. Did you notice that, everyone?
They wouldn't take me in. In fact, one of my kids said to me, I was absolutely amazed, about 10 years ago. She said, "Well, go out and have a good time." I said, but have a few bob left for your own care, because I'm not going to do it for you.
Absolutely.
That was very nice.
Well, we can always have a whip round.
Ed Davey is not even wanted by his own side now, is he? Let's be honest. There's a load of stuff under.
There are people who are saying, we need somebody different, we need a fresh face, we need to cut through. And I know from being in that job a long time ago, with Paddy Ashdown as leader, that it's very hard to cut through the noise. And then, in those days, there was only, as you know, Labour and the Tories. But now, as you say,
so Polanski is getting all the spotlight at the moment, which is why Burnham knows that he is in a great degree of difficulty. And I think that the people... Look, I don't know Gorton and Denton well, but a friend of mine does, and he says it's absolutely a shocking area, very poor. Yeah. These people do not want to be traded as kind of political pawns.
And the people of Manchester, who have seen really good benefits, just like the people of the West Midlands did under Andy Street, you know, they've got an awful lot of stuff.
No, hold on a second. Andy Street, the people of the West Midlands have not done well under Andy Street. Andy Street was no good. He was good at his PR. He was good for his PR. And then when they got the opportunity, they threw him out. So despite having good PR, if you wander around pretty good parts of Birmingham, you would say to yourself, there has not been good messaging here. And honestly, the thing about Manchester as well is, yes, he's done well on his PR. Let's just see whether the PR extends to Gorton.
He's done very well on his PR because he hits you with a simple message: tax the rich, it's the fault of the wealthy. And this leads me nicely to the next story.